Welcome back to part 2 of the video series of CorelDRAW, and in this video I'm going to cover how to make selections inside CorelDRAW. So I have already opened up a new file and created few objects, random objects. Do not worry about how I created that because that is going to be covered in the part 3, and we'll be creating much complex objects than what you see on the screen right now. I have just utilized these three tools here and created few default shapes and filled up color from the color palettes randomly. Now for selections it is important to have something on the screen. That is why I made all of them, and you can select individual objects by making sure that pick tool is active in the toolbar and then clicking on them. The moment you click and select a particular object, you will notice that we are getting contextual options to our selection in the option bar. We will talk about all these options separately while explaining these three tools and other tools. Right now let's just focus on making selections. So we can select one object that we saw already. How can we make multiple selections? That means, can we add to this particular selection? Yes, we can do so by holding shift on the keyboard and clicking on another object. Right now I'm holding shift, and if I click on this object, these two objects are going to get selected. Now how do we know that these two are selected and rest of them are not selected? Because if you notice, there is this node which got highlighted in both of them, and if I click and select a different object again by holding shift and add to the selection, you will notice a particular node on that object also going to get highlighted. So we can see that this one, and this one, these three objects are selected. If you are still not confirmed, then you just click on the center on this cross button and try to move them aside, and you will realize that yes, it is the case actually, and all three of them are selected. You can simply get back to them on the same place by hitting Ctrl Z on the keyboard, which is the shortcut for undo. Okay, now this is one way of selection. Another way of selection is you can click and then drag a marquee around the objects you wish to select. So if I click and then drag a marquee, everything which is getting encompassed by the marquee I have drawn will be part of the selection. Okay, so all these objects, these 6 objects on the top, got selected. Now I'll repeat it once again and bring your focus to a issue here, or something which is specific to CorelDRAW and a default setting. Notice my marquee is also covering this rectangle partially, but if I leave the mouse right now, that is not going to be part of my selection. So basically CorelDRAW only selects object which is completely covered by the marquee. Right now if I wish to select this object also and add to my selection, I'll have to make a bigger marquee which encompasses this rectangle particularly. Okay, so this is how you select multiple objects. Now let's say that I want to selectively remove objects from the selection I made. I can do so by holding shift and clicking back on the selected object. So shift serves as a toggle key for adding to the selection as well as for removing from the selection. So if I click on these objects one by one, it will get removed from my set of selection right now. So that is how you select multiple objects, either by selectively clicking on them. You can add to the selection by holding shift and clicking on the objects. You can remove from the same by holding shift and clicking on the selected objects, or you can click and drag a marquee surrounding the object completely to select the multiple objects. There is one other tool which is listed under the pick tool which can be utilized for selection, is freehand pick, and the idea is very simple, because if I draw a marquee with the pick tool, it is constraining its proportions to a rectangle only. If I wish to make a selection with marquees which is freehand in nature, I am going to pick freehand pick and then click and drag to make a marquee of a random shape, and that's how I can make selection of the objects I want. So both of them are very handy, and now you know how to make selections in CorelDRAW, how to select a particular object, how to select multiple objects, and so on. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next part of the video.